All right, good to see everybody. See everybody made it. Everybody make it home safe. Yeah, you're all here. late night. That was a great win for us last weekend over a really good Kentucky team. Tough place to play on the road. They had a great environment, electric environment, had that home field advantage, big physical group, and I think you've seen over the last couple of years the growth they've taken as a program. So it's a big win for us to get that game and even just to win the way we did. A lot of things we can clean up on. In that game, some mistakes, not earth-shattering mistakes, but little mistakes. And when you get into league play, and especially you're on the road in the SEC, the margin for error, as I always say, is really small, and those little mistakes end up becoming factors within the game. So really big for us to get a win. Obviously coming back home right now, it's great. It seems like we've been in season for a while. We've only had one game here in the Swamp. So get back home against Tennessee, big rivalry game. Florida-Tennessee is always a big game, and we need a sold-out crowd. And I don't know. I don't like saying sold out. We need a packed stadium. I don't care if we're sold out or not. If you bought a ticket, we need you to show up too. Sold out means everybody bought tickets. I need everybody packing the Swamp in there to give us that home field advantage. I guess Scott would be upset if I didn't say I don't like it sold out, but I want it sold out and full. But got to get ready to go. Obviously, injury report, as you guys know, Felipe is going to be out for the year for us at this point. We're hoping to get, we hope Amari Burney should be back this weekend for us. CJ, we feel, is going to be on the edge, whether CJ Henderson's ready to play. We feel pretty good about it. The nice thing with him being a veteran player is I don't expect him to practice much this week at all, but, so we have, 5 more days, 6 more days, whatever, to get him healthy to get ready to go play in the game. Zuniga will be in that same kind of category for us. Who else has been missing? Any other injuries? Yeah, he should be good to go. Who? Just ankle sprain. Any other injury questions? Me? I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Can you just clarify what officially is it for Franks?
He had a dislocated ankle that comes in with the fracture in there.
Do you have a timetable on his return?
6 months. It'll be next Monday. If I'm allowed to say those things, I don't know. But how is he? Obviously it's a tragic deal to happen to anybody. I think you look at somebody that's a great leader on our team, that's worked really hard to put himself in this position. I think you could really see this. To me, I don't know if everybody sees it. I saw the huge strides he'd made from last year to this year. In every aspect of his game, and so it's always a tragic deal when that happens. For young guys. He's as everybody said. Everyone always forgets. These guys are young kids still. He's a young kid, and that's worked his tail off to go do something he loves and has seen great improvement, and then you have it yanked away because of an injury. Is a really hard deal, and so. But he was at team meeting this morning. I know. Told him stay at home. But he was still at the team meeting this morning, and as positive as you can be within that situation.
How much will the offense change with Kyle and possibly Emory?
Not a whole lot. I expect us to play both guys. In a combination of it, and for several different reasons. One, I think they bring something a little different to the table, not just in running plays, but even how they run certain plays. They get a little bit different weapon. I think now you went from having two experienced, you would hope two experienced backups to inexperienced starters. So we got to get those guys in the game and get them reps and get them, comfortable. But every time both of them have been in the game, they've performed at a pretty high level for us. So, you're comfortable with that. But now it's a little different role, and you got to have both of them continue to get ready to go.
And Kyle Trask has never actually even started a game. So how do you kind of handle him this week from a mental aspect?
I don't know. Well, if he looks nervous, then we'll let Emery play the first play. He can go on the second play. Then he didn't officially start. I don't know. He'll be fine. I think one of the things that gets, like I talked about after the game, gets so overlooked was the maturity he brought to his preparation. To be an older guy. It's one thing like Emery that's still a young guy growing, developing, and, is in his second year in the program, waiting to be, kind of the future quarterback of the program. To Kyle that's kind of been in here and been around and hasn't gotten all the opportunities maybe you would want. But you know what? It never bothered him. It just, he kept, taking care of his business, being prepared, ready for his moment. Give me an opportunity, I'm going to be ready. Continue to prepare and do that. It also says a lot in today's college football, right? My meeting with him after last season was, do you want to be here? Do we need to help you? Go somewhere else. That's like the in thing in college football. How fast can, if I'm not playing, how fast can I transfer? If I'm not going to start, if I'm not going to get this, if it's not me, I need I. Well, I got to transfer. I got to do this. I got to be in the portal. Kyle's never that way. You know what I mean? He's a graduate of the University of Florida. He's getting a master's degree from the University of Florida. Sees the bigger picture in life. Understands that he's being developed really well here as a quarterback, and was waiting for it. Loves the team, loves the program. Going to work hard and ready for his opportunity when his number's called, which is kind of a throwback, right? But then it's amazing to wonder, boy, he had the character and the readiness to go prepare and be ready for that moment. Well, all of his actions that led up for him to be ready to walk into that game shows that he's going to have that character because of all of his decisions that he's made leading up to that.
Have you ever had to turn to a backup in that kind of a situation, hostile environment like that, down like that?
Yeah, but we were at home. I did the same injury in my last game at Mississippi State. I had to throw a true freshman in.
The guy who started the ball game?
Yeah. Yeah, it was middle of second quarter, I think.
Okay.
Same exact injury.
Did you win?
Nope. Came close, I think. I don't know. It was battled back. I don't know. It's been a long time. We had a bunch. We had one year where we had quarterbacks going out left and right. I think it was 2013. We had 3 different quarterbacks start games in that season in 2013. So I don't know when, like an injury occurred and someone had to come in a situation to go do one. I think maybe 2013 we did. Tyler Russell got hurt against Arkansas. Damian Williams came. Dak Prescott was already hurt. Damian Williams, as a true freshman, came in and won the game in overtime for us at Arkansas. And we went on to win the next game against Ole Miss and actually qualify for a bowl. We're 4-6 and we won the last 2 games, won the bowl game, and then kind of took off in 2014.
They had 3 quarterbacks here in 13. Didn't turn out quite like that.
Yeah, it's not a problem you want to be dealing with per se.
So what is the biggest difference now? Kyle's transitioning to a starter. How does the responsibilities change? And also defensively, he's going to be prepared for now. You probably don't prepare for the backup, I don't think, do you?
Yeah, well, probably not. Just watching the personnel and the tape of stuff like that, of what his strengths and weaknesses are. People aren't going to have that maybe, but the one thing we do, and I think Brian Johnson does a great job how we've set up the program, is to make sure guys get reps. So it's the one thing I sat down with Kyle and Emery this morning, I said, here's the great thing. You guys have gotten enough reps to be prepared for this. It's not like, okay, we really need to load up now because now you're the guy. You've gotten a lot of reps. And so, I know you guys are prepared for this moment. That aspect for it. The preparation, the preparation, honestly, it's being in rooms like this is the biggest change for them going to be coming. Right? They're the 2 fan favorites right? I mean, two most popular guys on the team are Kyle Trask and Emory Jones, probably, right? And that now, now it's a little different when everyone looks at them. So, but I think just that aspect of the responsibility of being the starting quarterback of Florida is going to be a big one. Not their game prep, not the reps at practice, not we're going to change the offense completely around them. Our job is to put them in position and do what they do well and let them be successful out there on the field. I think they know the team and the coaches have confidence. And by how we've practiced all through spring and training camp, it's not like Kyle's been in the huddle with the ones a ton, and Emory's been in the huddle with the ones. And, even how we scrimmage, how we do everything, those guys have gotten reps with the guys that they're going to be playing with. So there's already that comfort level when we're actually on the field aspect of things. I think it's all the other stuff that comes that's going to be the adjustment for.
The quarterback's kind of a de facto leader, just as like the face of a team. Felipe had really grown into that role and was kind of taking it on. What does Kyle need to do now as the starter and someone that gets looked to?
Well, I think one thing we put a lot on quarterback leadership, so they're expected in everything we do to be leaders. And it's not just, okay, the starting quarterback's a leader. Obviously, Felipe is because he's out in front of the team a lot, the most, as the starter that people look to. And I think, as you said, it becomes a de facto leadership. But I think all the quarterbacks in our room, have that. Sproul, you go to next Sproul, you go to the scout team and watch him. And everybody's going to do what he says and listen, and it's like all about him, right? There's that comes from that, and we stress it. So every one of the quarterbacks is expected to always be in a leadership role within our program and how they act, how they carry themselves, whether it's at workouts, whether it's in the huddle, whether it's with their group, whether it's in any aspect, we expect them to be that way.
So, they're very different personalities, Kyle and Felipe, so it's not a transition from the way Felipe does things to the way Kyle
It will be, but, to me, you got to lead who you are. And I think the guys on the team know the guys, and they respect their style of leadership. There's not one way to lead. I think the worst thing you can do is try to lead in a personality that is not who you are, because then it's fake or phony. So I think with our quarterbacks, they're good that way. I think everybody, but they've always been put in position to do that.
Could you see this kind of becoming a League Tebow type of deal, like you had then, obviously in 06?
Could be. We'll see. I'd say Emory's much further along than Tim would have been in 06. So, but I think we'll have the situations, because I think each guy brings a little bit something different issue to the defense, but it crosses over a lot too, and so I think that'll be kind of fun for us offensively to kind of put it all together.
And there was a play on the 2-point conversion where it looked like Cash Daniel was trying to turn Kyle Trask's ankle. Tate Casey reported. There's been your players tweet about it. Just wondering your thoughts on it, whether it's something you turn into the league.
Well, when that stuff happens, that's something for the league office and the commissioner. I'm sure that it's around the media. I'm sure they've looked at it, and it's, I'm sure, something that they would address.
Mark, your team's ability to close out games. It hasn't always been pretty, but 2 wins this year, fantastic effort late.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess, right? I thought it's been pretty fun, pretty exciting, pretty stressful, pretty aging, pretty everything.
Is that what do you attribute credit to on this team specifically? Did they learn that last year a little bit?
Yeah, I think one thing, I think there's some confidence in them to expect to win games. Where, hey, that we've faced adversity, we've been in tough situations, we've really worked hard for these moments. I know the offense and defense a little bit better, and I'm comfortable. And it's not like guys like waiting for something bad to happen. It's guys, hey, give me the opportunity, I'll make something good happen. And there's just a little bit of confidence that comes with that. And I think that's one of the big things. That game was a mirror image of the game the year before, in a lot of ways. up until 4 minutes left in the game, it was a mirror image of the game the year before. And the game the year before, we couldn't make a play to win it, and this year we could, and that's the biggest difference.
Thomas?
You said it's going to be kind of fun for you guys to put it together offensively. How much do you have to maybe learn what each quarterback gives you within a game?
Well, that'll be a part of it, is seeing what their game adjustments are. For the staff putting it together, I mean, it's obviously it's not something we want to do, but it'll be a change up. That's what I mean by fun, I guess. I mean, fun's not the best word, but a unique challenge and a different challenge of putting it together and making sure we are. And then the other part of it is seeing how they react to the games. But, to be honest with you, we've put Kyle into 2 game active to me. Not really. Really, that was his first active game situation. The one he went into last year was kind of cleanup. It was cleanup time on the wrong end. But opened it up for him in that time. When you're cleanup time on the good end, you're kind of really conservative and trying to run out the clock and not run the score up on people. But, both times he's been in that situation, he's performed really well. Emery, we've put him in some tricky little situations, where he's been on the big stage before. And so as you put the plan together and you're looking, hey, this guy, we could put this in for this guy or this in for that guy, or here's things they both can do. Here's different ways we can attack the defense. Might have them both on the field at the same time. Some little different things we might try just to see it as those guys grow and get comfortable, and we learn how they're going to handle every situation that they're put into.
Is one of the benefits of playing both, particularly when they're both a little bit more inexperienced, being able to show, like if Emery comes in, being able to show Kyle, hey, this is what you should be looking at?
Well, I talked to them all about it. I mean, that's one of the big things is you're the backup, you're kind of watching. Right now, if you're going to play, you're obviously, though, they've done a good job of not doing of doing this. I'm sorry, of not just kind of being like, hey, the game's going on, but I mean, of to sit there and say, okay, here's the play. Yep, there's the read. Okay, I want to go there. Ooh, why didn't he throw it there? What did he see? You know what I mean? And you're getting your read while you're on the sideline. I think that's you can learn a lot that way if you do it the right way. Yeah, the other great thing, if you are going to play both, I've done this a bunch before, I can sit there with a guy and say, hey, get ready to go in next play. This is the play we're going to call. This is the look we expect. Here's what I think is going to happen. Go get him. And, right, I mean, Coach Burry did that. Didn't he do that for like a whole year? Whole game? I've done it before, too.
Hey, Dan, so going back to that meeting that you said that you had with Kyle, so how does that kind of come up? Is that something that you bring up to him, just kind of assuming that would be the case, or just
what part?
The part where you're kind of talking about, hey, like, what can I do for you if you are looking to
I
move
have
on?
meetings with every player, you know what I mean? And, in that situation, in today's world, I was just curious just to know where we're going to be as a program. And he's like, Coach, no, I'm all in. I want to be here. I want to go win the starting job. And I said, great.
But you bring that up to him, actually? Like, how?
Yeah, well, because, he's not, at the end of the year meeting, I'm looking at his grades, it was like in January, I sat down, hey, let's go through your grades. Let's go through your performance last year. Here's things you can do to improve, where you're at, where's your head at, within the program. So it's a simple question is, hey, where's your head at in this situation? Hey, you're going to get reps and get a chance to compete. If it doesn't work out, is this where you want to be? Is there, in today's world, I got to know that if, the worst thing could happen is all of a sudden that he walked out the door, and now we're in the situation we're in with one scholarship quarterback. So I think those are just questions that I have, and I ask with all our players in meetings. I have several times a year I have one-on-one meetings with everybody on the team.
And just on the field, as far as like his mobility in the pocket, what can you say about that? Because that's something that we haven't really seen a whole lot of.
Yeah, one of the things, that Kyle brings is, he's big and physical. When I got here and I told, hey, you guys got to be willing runners. He's bought into that. He plays physical. He plays hard. He's not going to be a dynamic guy, where it's like, wow, look at the shake and the spin move and what he just put on somebody right there. But, he's 240 pounds, big and physical, and he's not afraid to run the ball, and he's competitive. And so That's it. And he has really good pocket mobility, with the ability to move, to improvise, to create, to extend. He's pretty comfortable doing that, I mean, you saw, I think, that the throw to Kyle in the game, and it was Kyle Pitts over the middle was a great one where, he had to slide a little bit, had somebody in his face, and but could still hang in the pocket and make the throw.
Matt. Dan, do you see any downsides to playing multiple quarterbacks? Are there any ways that can bite you?
Do I? No. The downside's the perception for everybody on the outside of how they treat it. And then if our guys pay too much time listening to opinions that don't really matter.
So it's never a concern in terms of egos or even just guys getting in a rhythm kind of thing?
Always a concern, but if you handle it the right way, everybody's got egos. We did handle it in 2006. Chris Leak and Tim Tebow both they're great people. Really, really both great guys and good people. They both got pretty big egos. You're not to do what they do out there. If you don't, you're not going to survive. You got to have a little bit of an ego to you to be a player at that level. Not an ego in a bad way, just that ego and that drive, the competitiveness. So, but I think we've been through it. We understand it. We'll talk to them, and we keep them educated. And the key is everybody knows what's going on. Unfortunately, people outside of the room don't know what's going on or don't know the plan. So they can say, oh, this or oh, that. Boy, you should have done this. You should have done that. How do you know what we were supposed to do? I never saw you in our game plan meetings. Kind of how it goes. So I think as long as they're on the same page, we're good.
And if I can switch gears for a second, when you got hired here, that was the first year of the early signing period. You guys had to scramble as a staff and everything. You had, basically 2 more weeks than Jeremy had when he got hired at Tennessee. So I'm curious, what were the challenges you had in getting everything together so quickly?
A lot of it's the relationships. There's a lot of guys you hadn't recruited, you didn't know, you hadn't met. The positive is a lot of guys stuck with us. Because they were coming to Florida for all the right reasons, which is, to play at a great program, to play at the premier university. If you want the premier, really, academic football combination university in the country. And so as you got to know those guys, that you knew they were coming for the right reason, you just had to say, hey, here's my view of the program, and I don't know how things were here before, or what you thought you were getting into, the university's not going to change. The Swamp's not going to change. We're not going to stain our colors, and the Florida tradition's not going to change. But how I run the program, this is how I see doing it, and I hope that's what you want to be a part of how we're going to do the program.
Edgar. How's Kyle just as a pure passer compared to some of these guys you've had? Because he seems pretty special there, doesn't he?
Kyle, he's solid. He's solid, throws a nice ball, has good balance. Yeah, he's good. A lot of it. He's got good fundamentals, good technique, and throws a good ball. We'll see. So much of it to me is about decision-making and processing of information, of more than how you actually throw it. And that's going to continue to be tested as we move forward.
Does, Felipe, players have said it's before coming into the season, it's Felipe's team. He established himself as that guy. Does Kyle have the volume, the natural leadership abilities there? Where do you see that? How do you see that?
I think he does. We're going to see how it translates now for him. You know what I mean? Because I don't doubt that he hasn't had to do it. Not that he can't or won't, but he just hasn't had to. And now he will. The benefit is he's going to walk into a huddle with a veteran group of wide receivers that, to me, handle themselves the right way, that have great leadership within their group, with a really good group of running backs next to him. And so, it's kind of interesting, the place he's leading is some of the O-linemen. Well, they're kind of their own. They kind of bond together. It's not, they're usually not high management guys when it comes to leadership, the offensive line. So, I think the rest of the team is in place to help him out a lot with that.
Can I ask a non-QB question?
Sure.
LaMichael Pirine, where's he kind of at mentally right now? It's like he's not getting And
I think he's doing great. I mean,
running
he's one of
room,
the
is
second
he?
on the team in receptions.
Was he getting any running room? And is he getting frustrated? Is he a little bit there?
I haven't seen that. I think I think because we're getting him the ball in the pass game as well. And I think that's a big part to it. I think he knew, especially one of the things was, he made a really smart decision to come back for his senior year and to work on certain things, and I think and to highlight certain things. And one of those, to me, was going to be his ability in the pass game, which translates a lot to the next level. And I think he's really shown that, where I think he is our second leading receiver on the team right now. And so I think that's a big aspect to his game and how games have gone. It's I can see some. Obviously, I'd like to run the ball better. I love running the ball a little bit better than we've run it, but we've also thrown it pretty darn well this year. And so if teams are going to try to make sure the run's taken away, I'm not going to just sit there and keep slamming my head into the wall. We'll go and throw it, and he'll get some touch. He'll get touches in the pass game.
Will, over to the right, new friends.
So when you look back on like LaMichael's runs, it's not that he's making the wrong cuts or not making this cut or not making that decision with his vision or anything like that.
I think a lot of people are loading things up. We've had a couple of missed. We got a young O-line, and as things change, especially see people are going to load the line of scrimmage with different looks. They got to get used to doing that. And making those blocks. That screen pass he should have given himself. I would have liked to get some more yards out of. I know he would have too the other night, but I think for him he's run the ball. I haven't had many negatives. He's graded out, I think, just about every week.
And just on Brenton Cox, have you guys had any more information on that or any updated sort of timeline from the NCAA at all?
No, they don't. And one thing I've learned, NCAA doesn't usually share timelines with us.
Friends in the back of the sack.
Dan, would you talk about a couple of plays that Trask made there? The play where he pitches back to Pirine, and then
That was a good one.
And then on the jet sweep, but those were veteran plays. Those are not the kind of plays you expect for a guy coming off the bench who hasn't seen the significant time in crunch time like that.
Well, the pitch play, I thought he made a great play. That was understanding what was going on. The pitch key ran out. He ducked it up. The guy fell into him, and he knew. Billy does a great job with our receivers blocking. That guy was the edge of the defense, and if he squeezed in and tackled me kind of from behind, you got to be careful with ball security. But there's nobody else to the outside. That's just, that knowledge of kind of knowing that and knowing that Van's going to block his guy. So instead of getting tackled at the 3, if I pitch it or wherever we were, LaMichael's going to walk into the end zone because there's no one left on the defense. So that's just good football knowledge. The jet sweep was that can be because there's timing involved in it. And they've gotten reps at practice, but I don't, a win the game moment to work on a timing play between a quarterback and a receiver like that. We've gotten reps, but not. He hasn't been in that moment taking that rep. But I thought that was pretty. He handled it pretty well.
Yeah, he got hit by 3 Kentucky guys and drew the entire defense. By the time they figured out that that Josh had the ball,
well, that's
he had his
all he had to do is go run down the field and celebrate.
Yeah.
I was running down the field saying, "Get down, get down." Everybody else was celebrating, "Score, go, go, go." I'm like, "No, no, no."
Dan, you mentioned the decision that Kyle made to stay here. And as you know, with his high school career, he also made the decision to stay at Manville with De'Aaron King there. And at that time, he and his coach told me that the reason why, along with the Texas high school rules, was that he wanted to stay at Manville. Just when you look back on his high school career and now his college career, how unique has it been, and how has that shaped the person and maybe player that he's become?
That's a good question for him, but I think it is very unique, and it is something that used to be common in college football that has become uncommon in college football. It's something about, that is, I think if you look at some older players, right? Look at, I don't know, Tim made a pretty, kind of maybe a profound statement before the game, like I saw right on, on TV somewhere, about, wasn't he talking about transfers, or what was he talking about? It was something about that. The paying players. But it was kind of about the passion of your school and being part of your school and representing your school and what that means, is what I took out, what I took out of it, which is missing at times in college football these days. And not a lot, but it's growing a little bit. And not that transferring's wrong. I have nothing against it. I think it all needs to be, make sure it is all for the right reasons. Why would you go from one school to the other? And a lot of guys have really good reasons to do so, and I think that's fine. But I think the character to stick it out and say, hey, I'm going to go work to earn something is a great reason to stay, because, they say, hey, I don't want to wait around to earn something's not maybe a good reason to leave.
Is it pretty rare to find that attitude in a kid in 2019, especially at quarterback?
I hope not. It'd be bad for our society if it was.
We'll wrap it up with Buddy Martin.
Dan, you talk a lot about, have talked about trusting players and knowing when you can trust them. And when you went to Trask, what's the first thing you did? Look at his eyes? Is there a litmus test for guys who?
No, I just think, in the situation we're in, we're going to let him take the first snap. We're planning on playing both guys, at that point. Actually, to be honest with you, I had a couple plays we were going to call for Emory coming out in the second half. Didn't get them called, and then Felipe goes down. And so you're going to put Trask in, at first just to get everybody settled down. He has a little bit more experience to put Kyle in. And, and he came in and he was hot, and, how we were moving the ball was going to fit what he was doing. And so we never got to the other plays at that point. We were kind of moving it and having success, so we just kind of stuck with what we were calling. Now Brian and I, And
Could you speak on Tennessee for 1 second? I don't think we got a Tennessee question in.
Yeah, Tennessee's really good. Got a lot of talent. Got a lot of talented players. I know that maybe the season didn't start off exactly the way they wanted it to, but I think that BYU game looks a little different now, how they handled USC. You look at their team and their talent, obviously, when Jeremy took over trying to build the program up, they had a couple of huge wins at the back end of last year. And some talented players. So it's going to be a huge challenge. And then anytime, obviously, they got guys that can score on offense. They got guys that have speed on defense. Skill players. They have really good skill players. So it'll be a big challenge for us. And anytime Florida plays Tennessee, it's always a big game.
Thanks, guys. Have you ever had a guy just drop on the ground? Why she stop running?
No, that's really hard to teach.
But you've ever had anyone ever do that?
Well, I have, yeah. I did. Jordan Scarlett did in the stadium.
Jared
That's
Gaines
right,
stopped.
yeah. Jordan Scarlett did last year, right out here in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. I got a lot of, I don't think we covered that night, too, because I've got a lot of, where's the relentless effort?